You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you to another lap of extra mile for today, May the 12th, 2022. And Formula One has finished up in Miami. NASCAR is heading on to Kansas. Really going to be another great race. IndyCar finally gets the month of May started in Indy, and the NHRA is back in the DC metro area. They're going to be dodging the raindrops, so we are going to see Nitro this weekend in Richmond. And to help me talk all about it, my co-host for this evening, Christopher Lehman. Christopher, welcome.
How are you doing tonight, Daryl?
I'm doing good. Good to hear from you again. And if you notice the change in Chris's mic quality, well, currently he's out in the field somewhere, literally. So he is joining us from his tractor. And I guess I can let Chris, if he wants to explain a little bit more about what exactly he's doing out there. And no, it's not towing Russian tanks.
I wish. I'm currently chisel plowing some very rough, uneven terrain. And what that does is kind of resets the ground. It's going to knock down all the ridges and all the imperfections. It's a deep till, so we try not to do it very often because it really disrupts the balance of the dirt. But after a particularly wet fall, there's just a lot of ruts and such that have to be taken care of. So, you're going to hear some beeping every now and then. That's the GPS. I don't even drive the tractor. I just turn it at the end of the row. And the GPS drives it for me. So I just got to kick back and relax and talk NASCAR and Formula One.
Modern technology at its best. And I'll quickly touch on what's going on in IndyCar this weekend before we get started. It's the GMR Grand Prix. That will be at the Indy Road Course. They are also going to be affected by some rain and storms on Saturday. And Chris, this is the road course prelude to what everyone cares about at Indianapolis, which is the Indy 500. Going to be a fun race, but that course is currently in discussion because there are some conversations that the World Endurance Championship could be hosting an endurance race in the near future at Indianapolis. We know that Roger Penske is trying to build up the prestige of the Speedway since he bought it, and that would be another feather in their cap to have the WEC, basically to have another international racing series, which is going to be the first time since MotoGP ran there. And, of course, we had Formula One run there at some point, but we don't really get into that anymore, after the whole 2005 thing.
Well, Daryl, I don't know what to tell you other than I think let's not roll out hydroplanes going there.
Sad part is they don't have... If they had a lake, I could see it, but unfortunately, they decided to put a golf course instead. Which is funny because, now that you say that, Daytona actually hosted some outboard races in the 60s. They haven't run boats there in a while. Unfortunately, the Unlimiteds would be far too big to run on Lake Lloyd. So,
yeah,
but we could have some. Yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah, I found out about it. There were some random pictures in this group I follow called Hydroplane History, and I think Daytona may have posted about it as well. I would like to see some sort of boat racing there again. They could have the Grand Prix hydroplanes, which are significantly smaller than unlimited hydroplanes there, but it depends on what they want to do out there at Daytona, though they seem to host every other motorsport.
Yeah.
Fun fact, they used to actually have go-karts on the Daytona, like the actual road course. But they call them super carts. They're completely souped up go-karts. They can do, I think, 170, 180. I've seen some videos of it. It's absolutely insane. And for those folks, more power to you. There is no way I'm getting in a go-kart of any capacity and doing any sort of laps at the Daytona International Speedway. So, more power to y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, if the go-kart goes more than like 40, I'm not interested.
Same. I want no part of that. But we'll go and get into the meat and potatoes of the program. Got Formula One and NASCAR to get into. Also a little bit of NHRA just to preview this weekend. Also some news in the Unlimited Hydroplane ranks. They are getting ready for an exhibition run in Vancouver. We know the 4 boats that will take part in that event, but we, of course, will start with NASCAR. And there's been a lot to do about Joey Logano's move on William Byron at the end of the season, or at the end of the race there 2 laps ago. If you saw it, gave him the old chrome horn into turn 3. And there's been a lot of belly aching over Logano doing this, and I am confused as to why. Logano basically gave the fans what they want to see, which is a lot of rubbing, a lot of racing, a lot of putting the bumper to somebody with the bump and run, which is exactly what he did. It was not dirty. We've seen it a million times in this sport before for a bunch of positions over the year. It wasn't egregious, especially when you go back and look at the restart before that. Byron, whether he got tight or intentionally, kind of put Logano into the wall. And really throughout his history with Penske, Logano has not been afraid to beat and bang to go for the win, and that's exactly what this sport needs, especially when you have a format like this, Chris, where it's win and you're in for the playoffs.
Absolutely. And, just to kind of go back to the obvious, if you made a ranking of drivers that you did not want behind you on the lead lap, I doubt it. If you made a list of drivers you didn't want behind you on the final lap going into the final corner within about 2 car lengths, Joey Logano's the top driver on that list. On every list. So for William Byron and his team, I'm sorry, but you had to know that if you watch the video, it looks like Byron brake checked him the way he stopped right in front of him.
Yeah.
And, he was counting on Logano to hit the brakes and not bump him. But my goodness, man, think about that for a second. Yeah, it's really hard to blame Logano for what happened if we're being objective.
I absolutely cannot blame him for what happened there, and nor would I. We've seen that 100 times. Heck, the people forget when Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven were fighting in 2003 for that win in what was a classic Darlington and NASCAR finish. A finish still talked about this to this day. Kurt Busch gave Ricky Craven the bumper going into turn 1 with about 4 laps to go. And that's kind of what set up what happened there at the end, where they are coming to the line basically door to door with the smoke and the sheet metal flying. We want to see those type of finishes. Now, unfortunately, with how the suspensions are set up in this car, the right front got destroyed on Byron's car. He ended up finishing 12th. That's unfortunate, but that doesn't make it a dirty move because we've seen that move a million times before. Somehow we've gotten to a point where we want Formula One style driving out of NASCAR, and that's no, we don't. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a driver in NASCAR sitting behind, not using the opportunity for a bump and run because people are going to be mad at him for doing it or get a 5-second penalty for causing a collision. That's a conversation I could go into for a different day, by the way, about that rule. I'm not a fan, but it is what it is. I am becoming more of a Joey Logano fan with every passing day because I can't call him a kid anymore, but the guy just wants to win, and he's not going to let people bully him to do it. We all talk about in 2015 when Kenseth put him in the wall, we forget that the week before, Kenseth threw 2 blocks, Logano got tired of it and sent him around. Kenseth getting spun at Kansas was because Kenseth was blocking, and Logano was like, okay, you blocked me once, that's fine. You blocked me twice, you're going around. And that's what he did. And Byron, of course, talked the big game that everybody does with Joey Logano and how they're going to pay him back. Other than Matt Kenseth, nobody's really paid him back. So I don't know if Byron's going to do anything or it's going to be another Logano wins the war scenario, but I'm really confused with the pearl clutching in NASCAR right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't see William Byron doing anything back to Joey Logano. That's not who he is as a driver. And I don't know. I don't see it happening. He talked a big game. He got angry about it. But at the end of the day, the final turn of the race, and you put the brakes on in front of him. You know what's coming. So one of those, like you said, Logano's won the wars with just about everybody but Kenseth, and I don't see that changing. And let's talk. If we really want to get into it, are we mad about the finish, or are we mad that it was Joey Logano and not the other? If it was flipped around and it was William Byron who dumped Logano, they'd put a statue up of him somewhere.
Oh, if it's Byron dumping Logano, there is an absolute parade going on at the Hendrick Motorsports campus today, and Byron's merchandise will be flying off the shelves. It's a driver that Joey, for some reason, has this reputation as being a dirty driver. I don't know where it came from. Maybe Keselowski, when he was over there, probably earned that a little bit more, especially at the super speedways. But Logano, to me, has never been that dirty of a driver to where he's earned all of this negative reputation. I am hoping, and honestly, I might have to go buy some 22 gear at this point because I don't know. I like the drivers now that are aggressive. I wasn't a fan of that as a kid. I was not the biggest fan of Kyle Busch, but now I'm kind of with this. I kind of like it. I'm Arthur Parsons, Adam Karnick, and Taryn Rodriguez joining us in the chat. Hello, guys. Arthur says, what's up, guys? We're doing good, man. Hope you're doing good as well. Arthur actually has a show here on the program. I'm going to make sure I read that out before we go off the air. So, no, Arthur, I did not forget about your show, and I apologize that I didn't mention that last week. But on the other side of things, the lady in black is back, Chris, and we saw it bite several times. We saw a guy who's really had a chance to win that race, which was Ross Chastain, end up spinning after a restart off turn 2. Martin Truex Jr. ended up getting loose, got into Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and collected the entirety of 2311 when they were in the top 10. And Kyle Busch ended up getting into contact with Brad Keselowski after Keselowski blew a tire right in front of the 18. That ended Kyle Busch's day. And, of course, Kyle Busch had a Kyle Busch moment after that. But it was an opportunity, or not opportunity, sorry. Sunday was a throwback to what Darlington has always been. The track too tough to tame. We saw a whole bunch of Darlington stripes. We saw cars getting loose, cars getting into the wall. This track stressed these drivers, and that is what this next-gen car has done. It's made a lot of these tracks that were easy, difficult again, and that's why I'm really excited for Kansas this weekend, although I'll be in the grandstands in Richmond watching Nitro instead.
Yeah, no, it's just another successful next gen race, and
Mm-hmm.
we're really, aside from uh, Phoenix, there really hasn't been too many bad next gen races that I can think of, at least. But yeah, Darlington's back. This race was exactly what you would expect or want out of a Darlington race.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think it was a good show. I think it put on a good race.
Yep. And Arthur P. in the chat, host of the Bayou Bulletin here on iSports Radio, says that his guy Kevin Harvick finished fourth, which was a great finish for Harvick because he has not had the best of seasons at all. But the one car I even forgot, Justin Haley finished third in this race.
Wow.
And Kaulig Racing, their cup program has kind of been slept on because it's a first-year program. But that's another team that's benefiting from the next-gen car and what they wanted to do, which is get this parity in the sport where these little teams can get up there and fight again. And Justin Haley ran a very smart race, didn't have any contact with anyone, a clean car at the end of the race, which is a badge of honor at Darlington. Picks up a much-needed top 5, and it's on to the next week. Going to give Chris a moment. Chris, you got us?
Yeah, I got you. I heard something about Justin Haley, but that's really about it.
Yeah, Haley finished third on Sunday, sorry.
Did he really?
Yeah, I was just talking about how this is what the new car was trying to do, which is help these smaller teams kind of come up there and fight with the bigger teams, and it really helped, or it really showed there with Haley finishing third. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was 8th as well. Both RCR cars, so that's a little bit bigger team, were in the top 10. They've struggled this year, and Suarez finally got another top 10 in 10th.
Oh, that's good.
Yep. Would have had 2 in the top 10 if Chastain, unfortunately, hadn't had his incident, but it's kind of how things go.
Yeah, that stunk.
Yep. Also had Kyle Larson with the engine issue. BJ McLeod had a brake fire, so that was it for him. Daniel Hemrick in the other Colic car had a engine issue as well. And we had 23 cars finish this race. That is the lowest number, I think, since the plate races by far. So Darlington bit often. But we're going to a much easier track, easier in quotations, in Kansas. This was a track that was the poster child for the bad races in the 550 package, but with how the next-gen cars run at 1.5 miles, Chris, this might be appointment viewing once again.
Yeah, the way that this car is developing and the teams are learning it, setting it up, there's definitely some very real potential for some great racing, and I hope that we get it. Kansas, obviously, historically not the most exciting racetrack to go to. So it'll be fun to see what this new car does for it.
Well, we know this car is edgier, so. And I remember from Kansas, turn 2, turn 4, those are the trouble spots with the weight transfers with that car, or with the older cars. Definitely off of turn 4 as well, or more than turn 4 more than anything. We could see a good bit of cautions with drivers having issues. This is also, of course, kind of where Bubba Wallace ended up getting his start in Cup, not really in the race, but unfortunately, this is where Eric Almirola had his horrible accident, which ended up with him having a back injury and Bubba Wallace stepping in, and those runs with Petty helped Bubba secure a spot in the Cup Series and basically where he's been ever since.
Where did Bubba start? Oh, Petty.
Yeah, he started at Petty. However you felt about it is up to you how that stint went, but I think it was a good start.
You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they didn't get the results they wanted, but I feel like Bubba probably learned a lot while he was, time there.
Yeah.
So.
And we'll see how it goes this week, but we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to get into Formula One and this whole belly aching over the jewelry for one Lewis Hamilton is about to come to a head, and I think Formula One is picking the wrong fight. We'll talk about it on the other side of this break. Also, did Miami live up to the hype? I think we're going to differ on this answer, but for many different reasons. We're going to talk about that next here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance. If you love your sport, you may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. Follow them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, on Instagram at Southern California Warriors, and Facebook, Southern California Warriors.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
Marcus Lost Great joining us saying, what up, though? Hey, Marcus, hope you're doing well. Arthur Parsons also joining us. Adam Karnick also in the chat as well. And hey, if you're in the chat, make sure you drop your comments. We will read them out live here on the channel. I want to thank you all for listening. Marcus is the host of our boxing show, Gloves Off. Make sure you check that out if you love everything about the square circle when it comes to boxing, not professional wrestling. But we do have a professional wrestling show as well. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, we're going to get back into it here with the Extra Mile here on iSports Radio, your feed for all that is sports. Daryl and Chris with you. No Michael this week. We hope to get him back here soon. We're going to talk about the F1 Miami Grand Prix, and we're going to start simply with, did it live up to the hype? Now, we are definitely going to disagree, but I think we might agree on why we disagree, as I did not think the race lived up to the hype, but Chris, you thought the race did.
The race, not the event, but the race.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense. The broadcast was questionable at best. I thought the grid walk might have been the most uncomfortable television I've ever watched in my life.
Oh my goodness, we got to talk about Martin Brundle, but continue.
And I think the excessive amount of crowd shots took away from what was actually pretty decent racing on the track. But the race was good. The crowd shots unnecessary.
I said no. It did not live up to the hype because of those reasons with the broadcast, because obviously I wasn't in Miami. I'm watching on TV. And we're going to talk about Martin Brundle here in a minute. Right now, actually, Martin and black celebrities. First, it was the Meg the Stallion flap at the United States Grand Prix, where he got really overly upset that she didn't want to talk to him. And now he confuses Patrick Mahomes, I guess, for some soccer player. One time is a mistake. 2 times is a coincidence. All I'm going to say to Mr. Brundle, don't let there be a 3rd time, or the conversation about it on this show is going to be a little bit louder than what it is normally. I have to say this in a certain way. The confusing of Patrick Mahomes was inexcusable for someone in his field.
So can I interrupt quick, Daryl?
Yes.
Because this is something that was brought up on one of the other Formula One podcasts I listened to. Mm-hmm. And Martin Brundle has an assistant with him that points out people and tells them who they are.
Okay.
So Martin Brundle, and also, the other thing to think about too is I don't think it's really fair to expect him to know who every American celebrity is. I mean, he's British, and if you know what I mean, like there's definitely a difference between knowledge. But something that was suggested was that Martin Brundle's assistant, who's basically pointing out people and saying that's who they are, this is a couple things about them quick. So Martin didn't necessarily confuse them himself. He was just given bad information about, and would he even know who Patrick Mahomes is? I don't know. Does he like American football? That's kind of the way that I see it is, if you showed me some of the biggest soccer stars in Europe, in England, I probably wouldn't have a clue who they are.
Yeah, but so I'll back up on Martin a little bit because it sounds like this is on the assistant. That assistant needs to fix that, or that assistant needs to study up on who they think is going to be at the race, because that was inexcusable, and unfortunately it put Martin in a really bad position because black folks don't like it when you confuse us for everybody else. I'm just going to put it like that. That gets people a little bit touchy. And this is Martin's second oopsie daisy when it comes to a black celebrity. And he was getting beat up on Twitter a little bit about that. But moving on from him, the TV direction. Go ahead.
Just one more thing quick. So one of the other suggestions was that Sky Sports should have an assistant with Martin Brundle that also runs ahead to the celebrities and says, hey, Martin Brundle with Sky Sports is coming through. Would you be interested in interviewing with him? You know what I mean? Him just walking up.
That would help so much. Yeah.
You know, and you know, a lot of people think like, okay, here's some guy shoving a camera and a microphone in my face, but they don't know that Martin Brundle was actually a really good racer. You know, it's not like he's just some willy-nilly reporter. I mean, F1 is in his blood, and he's a Formula One legend.
Yeah. But you think they would have figured this out by now to have someone there to get him up there or get somebody out there to say, hey, Martin Brundle on the F1 broadcast wants to talk to you. Would you be willing to speak? So that Martin isn't doing the thing where he's just standing there with the microphone expecting the person to turn around and go, oh, hey, guy with a microphone, I'm going to talk with him. Mostly celebrities don't want to do that, especially when they're someplace where they're, trying to get away from, or, where they're having fun, I guess. So maybe that would help to mitigate this. Because there have been some embarrassing moments with Martin this year when it comes to the whole grid walk. So we'll see how they do that. But that's not even the biggest faux pas. We got to get into this TV direction. I think they missed just about 2/3 of the big moments between Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen to show crowd shots of their fans. I get it. We're trying to sell this to American folks that, fans are there having a good time. You can show the crowd shot after you show the pass. And there was like a lot of random crowd shots for no reason. And FOM is usually better than this. Personally, I thought it was their worst performance in quite some time, other than, the Monaco Grand Prix. But Monaco was done by folks actually at Monaco instead of the regular FOM team. I want to get your thoughts about it, Chris. What did you think of their performance?
Yeah, I thought that it was, to be blunt, inexcusably bad. The excessive amount of crowd shots. I mean, I know that this is a race that Formula One paid for out of their own coffers. And so they wanted to get a return on investment. And though they lost money this year, the goal is to sell the experience, and that's what they were trying to do with all the gimmicks. Mm-hmm. But, for TV, how many people are they showing crowd shots, convincing into buying tickets to go next year? Mm-hmm. A couple at the most. And so, I don't know, I thought that it was excessive, it was unnecessary, and it took away from what was actually good on-track racing compared to what all indications were that this was going to be kind of a boring race. With, they were concerned about passing, mm-hmm. and passing didn't really seem to be that much of an issue if
if you were there, you saw the passes, not on TV.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
There were 45 overtakes, apparently, in the race, which is the second highest of the season. You would not have known that watching on TV, because they did not show that many of them. Instead, they showed more crowd shots. I'm like, really?
Yeah, I did not know that there were 45, and I wouldn't have believed it. If you told me to guess how many there were, I probably would have said like 10.
Yeah.
And 2 of them were Max.
Yeah.
But
hopefully the TV direction is better than what we saw next time we come here, because that was rough. But Max Verstappen ends up picking up the win, drawing ever closer to Charles Leclerc in the championship. Now, Leclerc is not really, Ferrari isn't really concerned about their speed disadvantage to Red Bull. They did run a higher downforce configuration at Miami, which probably hurt them in the long run. I think they should be concerned. You don't let a driver like this up off the mat. So if you've got Verstappen down, they need to keep pushing. But this might go back to the point that we talked about last week, Chris, or a couple of weeks ago, I think that was, because it was after Imola. They're so used to have been in that position where they're fighting from behind, where it seems like they're just trying to points race to keep pace, when they really need to start stacking the points to make it harder for Verstappen to catch up. I don't see him doing it right now.
no, absolutely not. They're just, like I said last week, they're just so used to fighting for third place, and not even third place. For the constructors, their goal was to always beat McLaren for third place. It wasn't to be first on the grid or second. It was to be third.
Yep.
And that mentality is something that they're going to need to shed here pretty soon if they have any desire to keep up with Max, because like I said last week, I now think that this is Max's championship to lose.
Yep. And all of that is going to depend on whether or not Mercedes actually gets up off the mat, as they're talking about they might revert their side pods after Spain if they can't get this figured out, which they had a decent Friday. Saturday, Sunday did not go that well for them. They were, again, 6th and 7th, so it doesn't look like much of a change. But the most concerning thing right now with Mercedes is this weird spat between the FIA and Hamilton over this jewelry thing. Hamilton has been given a 2-race extension, counting Miami and Spain. They are warning Hamilton that he will be banned for the Monaco Grand Prix if he doesn't lose the nose ring and the earrings going into that weekend. This is not the fight Formula One needs to be picking with its only black driver and their greatest driver in recent memory, not 5 months after whatever you want to call Abu Dhabi. It really feels like they are picking a battle they're not going to win. You couldn't get the rules straight in Abu Dhabi, but now you want to big ups on this. This is a terrible fight for them to be picking.
Yeah, this is. I don't understand it, to be honest with you. Oh no. Sorry, I just realized that I don't have my wallet on me.
Oh Lord.
I found it.
Oh, okay.
I'm leaving the field now, and I was gonna stop at McDonald's and get some dinner. So I got really nervous when I didn't have my wallet. But supporting Bubba tonight, Daryl.
Nice.
My $1.29 McChicken's going right to tires or something.
Make sure you get a Dr. Pepper too.
I always do.
But man, I don't know. Go ahead.
I'm gonna try to, but Okay. I was just saying, I don't understand why they're choosing this. That they got a new race director in and a new, what's the FIA?
There's a new FIA president and a new race director. I think the FIA president is trying to be Billy you-know-what because of Hamilton not going to the awards ceremony last year when he was ticked off about what happened in Abu Dhabi. But y'all are picking a fight with a driver that at this point does not need this sport. Y'all need him because you only have a black audience right now because of Lewis Hamilton. There were not that many black folks watching the sport before now. If this is how y'all treat him on the way out, they're going to follow him right out the door. They're not going to stay. And Formula One might not care. There's a lot of folks that do. And I definitely would be upset if this is how Lewis Hamilton's goodbye tour begins. Not with, him climbing out the car at Abu Dhabi for the last time. People talking about his accomplishments, but a pissing match over jewelry. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of those, and it's not even just the jewelry; it's the underwear too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're checking. Did you see what?
Chris, we're gonna wait for you to get into a little bit of a better signal area.
And I just fire suit. So, I mean, it's just. Where did you lose me? I guess, do I have service now?
You're back now. I heard most of it. You just sound like a robot, and you were really slow. But you were talking about Vettel wearing the underwear outside of the fire suit. I don't understand why F1 is picking fights with its most outspoken drivers. Like, these are the two guys that are the ambassadors of your sport. And if you tick them off at this point in their careers, Hamilton's broken every record that he needs to except one. Vettel's a 4-time champion. They can just walk off to the sunset and not care about Formula One. You're going to have to explain to your fans why you forced those guys out.
Absolutely. And it's, especially with everything going on with Lewis, you'd think maybe you'd give it a year or two before you start enforcing these, what I would consider to be stupid rules.
Mm-hmm.
But they come right in and it's comply or be cast out is what it seems like. And what they don't understand is that they're playing with fire because they're playing with the two guys right now who will say, okay, goodbye, and go off into retirement and do something else.
Well, not only that, you're messing with the two guys who could weaponize their fans to burn this sport to the ground if they wanted to.
Absolutely.
Both of them have such a pull in this sport now with fans, especially Lewis with the young fans, that if he wanted to start a campaign where it's like, hey, tell the FIA how you think about this, they would crash the FIA servers with the emails and the phone calls they would get. This is not a fight to pick.
Absolutely. And Sebastian Vettel's fan base can't be understated either. I mean, he has a cult following, and it's for a reason. Sebastian Vettel is probably in terms of being like a good guy, he's probably the best one on the grid, right? He's just such a phenomenal human being. And that's why people who don't necessarily even like him as a racer, I mean, everybody likes him as a person. Yeah.
I was a huge Vettel fan during the Red Bull era, so I've been a fan. I fell off a little bit, of course, as the Lewis fandom grew, but I still support the guy and hope that he can help turn around Aston Martin because they are in the dumps at this point. I don't get it. We'll see if cooler heads prevail in Spain, but the Formula One as well has gotten tired of the FIA, and there are rumblings yet again that Formula One as an entity may split from the FIA. Multiple outlets have reported that. Now, there is nothing concrete. It's all conjecture at this point. But the fact of the matter is, Formula One brings in a lot more money for the FIA than the FIA puts into F1. I don't know what that would do with track sanctioning and everything like that, because the last time they tried this, the FIA said they couldn't use Grade 1 circuits, and that killed it when there was going to be a breakaway series with Ferrari and everybody. It's going to be a different kettle of fish if all 10 teams say, you know what, we're out, we're going to go do our own thing.
Yep. And something like that would be major, but, depending on what the FIA chooses to do over the next couple of years with these different rules and regulations that they're choosing to, picking their hills to die on, you'll see these rumblings get louder and louder until it becomes reality.
Yep.
And Watkins Glen is available. Please, if you split off, come to Watkins Glen.
Come to Watkins Glen, but don't touch it. Just run it the way it is.
Absolutely.
Although I'm a massive hypocrite about that, because there's Armco everywhere near where cars can touch. But please don't ruin the mystique of Watkins Glen. It is a beautiful circuit, and I want to get up there to see it before I die. So,
well, you've got a place to stay.
Yeah, that got morbid really fast, but yeah, I really want to get up there to see Watkins Glen at some point, either for the 6 hour or for the Cup race. I would also like to see IndyCar back up there, even though IndyCar and tracks owned by NASCAR are beefing right now. I would like to see them back at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, no, it'd be good. I mean, Watkins Glen doesn't have a ton of races, and so it'd be good to see. It'd be good to see some more series come in with some different races.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. Some other racing going on this weekend before we get to our picks and say goodnight. We do have, or in a couple of weeks, H1 Unlimited will be having their first kind of preseason event. It'll be a test in Vancouver, Washington. As I said at the top of the show, we now know the boats that will be competing will be showing off their boats there in Vancouver, Washington, in hopes of having a race there in the future. We will be seeing the U91 Boitano Homes with Jeff Bernard out there. The U9 with J. Michael Kelly. The Miss Tri-Cities will also be out on the water. Also, Jamie Nielsen. The U11 Miss J&Ds will be entertaining the fans. And I believe also the U12 Graham Trucking. That boat's supposed to be driven by Andrew Tate, but we will see who decides to race that boat. For right now, I believe it is going to be, again, the Tater, Andrew Tate, racing that boat this season. So those will be the four that will be going into Vancouver. A couple weeks later, they will have the preseason testing in Kennewick, and then at the end of June, we live, folks, for Lake Gunnersville Hydro Fest, where they will contest the APBA Gold Cup. And this weekend, I cannot wait. I'm going to Petersburg, Virginia, just outside of Richmond, for the NHRA Virginia Nats. We're supposed to go to this in 2020 before the plague swept through. But we will be back. Weather is looking kind of iffy for Friday and Saturday. Sunday supposed to be a little bit better, but it's going to be exciting to see 330 mile per hour race cars. Brittany Force currently leading the points in the NHRA Top Fuel Division over Mike Salinas and Justin Ashley in the top three. Of course, in Funny Car, my favorite class, Matt Hagan, going to get to see him in action. The favorite driver, I think, of the Extra Mile from the future. He's currently leading, or from the past, leading Robert Height and Ron Capps there in the top three. They are 66 points separating the top three. Pro Stock will not be there, but Pro Stock Motorcycle will be. And Steve Johnson leading Karen Stoffen by 6 points. I got to meet this guy. I got to take a picture with this guy. Steve Johnson is one of the most animated, happiest-go-luckiest guys you will ever see in the NHRA. Even when it's going bad, he's always got that smile on his face. It is infectious, makes him a fan favorite. I can't wait to meet him this weekend. That's the one guy I'm definitely going to be trying to meet there in Richmond. We're probably going to have a little bit of time to meet them as they're moving up the pro categories to 1 o'clock. They'll be done by 2. We'll go back in the pits and see all of them before we head out of there in Richmond. But, Chris, it's going to be a fun racing weekend. What are you looking forward to?
I don't know, Daryl. I don't know. I'll be in the field again all weekend, so I don't know if I'll get to watch anything. But I guess what I'm looking forward to is hopefully 2 victories by my nearest to win picks.
Yeah.
Which,
We're going to pick those.
By the way, Daryl, I really hate to do this to you, but I need to change the tides, so I just want to concede and congratulate you on the nearest to win championship for 2022.
I don't know. I'm going to look. I've been on a hot streak with the picks to begin. I don't know if it's going to come crashing down. I hope it doesn't, because it's been a really good week for me so far. A really good start to the season, but I've just lucked out because last year these picks did not go well at all. So we'll see what happens. Usually during the summer is when it all falls apart. Hopefully it doesn't fall apart this time. But we've got Kansas this week. We've got IndyCar as well. Who am I picking for Darlington? You know what? This guy's been really fast. I think he's going to get win number 3 of the season this weekend. Ross Chastain wins in Kansas. And for IndyCar, it's really hard to bet against the Penske cars here. But I'm going to bet against them. And with this points lead, I can get a little bit adventurous. So I'm going to say Colton Herta gets off the schneid, picks up a win in Indy. Chris, who you got?
I will be so upset if Colton Herta finally wins on the 1 week that I don't pick him. It seems like every other week I'm picking him, just like basically waiting for it to happen. So for NASCAR, I'm going to say I really like Hendrick at Kansas. Bowman's burned me twice this season. But I think Kyle Larson gets it done. Picks up his second win of the year. And for IndyCar, I'm going to take my favorite Aussie, Scott McLaughlin.
So those are picks for nearest to win. And remember, if you want to play nearest to win with us, get your picks in. # nearest to win before engines fire this weekend. We will get those picks in. Unfortunately, no points update this week, but spoiler alert, I'm winning. Arthur Parsons thinks Kevin Harvick is going to pick up another top 5 this weekend. I could see that. This has typically been a good track for Harvick, and he needs a good run because he has not had a good start to the season at all. But before we get out of here, of course, we have to read our goodbyes. Got to thank our Patreons. We got 4 of those now. Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Gate, and an anonymous Patreon. Ooh. Congratulations. Thank y'all for so much for supporting the work here at IE Sports Radio for the last 7.5 years, turning 8 this weekend. IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we continue to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take that next step. When you go over to our website, isportsradio.com, you'll find the Patreon link. That has 5 different tiers starting at $5 a month, which gets you a shout out to all 32 of our shows. And higher tiers include access to the Podcasting University, IE Sports Radio merchandise, and the chance to be featured on our segment on our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all so very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Remember to follow us on Twitter at IE Sports Radio and Instagram at IE Sports Radio, Facebook, IE Sports Radio as well. And of course, Chris and I are also on Twitter. Chris is at Fiji Sims. I'm at DK Jr. 12. Michael's at Michael_War25. Make sure you follow the show Twitter page as well. The Extra Mile, iEsports Radio. And if you've missed any episode of any iEsports Radio show, check it out wherever podcasts can be heard, or check out the YouTube channel iEsports Radio, which has episodes from the very founding of our program all the way through for the last 8 years. Well, that's going to close it down for this week's episode of The Extra Mile. For Chris, I'm Daryl. Thank you all so very much for listening, and we'll see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.